Viewers and listeners, we're going to rock and roll. We're going to rock and roll. We're going to rock and roll. Keith Smith is in the house. Keith Smith is in the house. The Friday edition of Real Talk with Keith Smith. Ladies and gentlemen, like and share the show.
This is, we had 2 Fridays in a row with guests. It's just Batman and Robin today. I'm looking forward to it.
Me too.
Looking forward to it. I always have fun when it's just you and I, and at some point I forget the cameras and the mics are here and you start pushing me, and that's when I have a lot of fun.
Rob Neal, welcome to the broadcast. William McChesney, Holly Foster. Aaron Moody, we love when you watch the show. Viewers and listeners, like the show, share the show. Colleen Tyler, she's a realtor. Welcome to the program. Tom Powell, thank you for watching the show. We'll talk about that Glenmore explosion. Ray Cadell, hello. Xavier Yerpe, hello. We'll
Tragedy.
talk about that Glenmore tragedy. And Keith Smith's a general contractor. So we'll have a conversation with him as a general contractor over what or scenarios of what could have happened there.
It's interesting. The license I actually carry around with me every day, which I'm supposed to carry both. I always carry my GC license, which is technically I don't use very often. My real estate one is I always forget to put it in my wallet. But I got it in today.
There we go. Like and share the show, viewers and listeners. We're going to rock and roll here on the program. The Glenmore neighborhood, our thoughts and prayers continue to
100%.
be with you. That's my former stomping grounds, and some of the folks that have been involved in this tragedy or are involved in this tragedy are known friends of the family.
Yeah, I only can imagine how the owners feel.
Especially with young children and school starting that day.
Yeah.
All right, Judah Wickhauer, my friend.
I forgot about that.
We can rock and roll when you are ready.
Do I have to?
Judah.
I don't want to. You can make me come over there. It took 7 years to say that.
Welcome to Real Talk with Keith Smith. My name is Jerry Miller. Thank you kindly for joining us. Good Friday morning to you. A lot we're going to cover on the program today. Real Talk with Keith Smith features a gentleman that is a friend, a colleague, a professional mentor, and Keith Smith, who's been in real estate since 1987. Not only is Keith one of the principals and co-owners of Yes Realty Partners, a boutique real estate brokerage here in Charlottesville, Albemarle, and Central Virginia, but Keith is a Class A general contractor. He's built more than 600 homes, and many of those developed in the Lake Monticello neighborhood. I believe you've built, was it one of the first homes in Glenmore?
I did, actually.
One of the first homes in the Glenmore
Wow, good for
gated
you.
community. We will talk on today's show the entire cornucopia of real estate topics. But one of the topics we will discuss today is the tragedy that impacted the gated community in Keswick, Glenmore. By now, you may or not know, I would think most in this community know, a home on Ferndown Lane tragically exploded, resulted in the death of one person and the significant injury of another who is currently fighting for his life in the VCU burn unit.
That's right, they transfer him.
Transferred him there. In total, along with the tragic death and the tragic burning of another person, 13 homes, including the one that was eviscerated, are unsalvageable, on the brink of uninhabitable.
I would say that. Yeah.
And now basically in the hands and the judgment of insurance adjusters, which is a terrifying position to be in. So we are going to unpack this turn of events, not only with a realtor, not only with a co-owner of a boutique brokerage, but a man who is a Class A general contractor in Keith Smith. Judah Wickhauer, studio camera, and then two-shot Keith Smith. Goodness gracious, what a story.
Yeah, we first and foremost want to put our prayers and best wishes out to all the families. This is, just flat out tragic. And I thought this morning, we talk a little bit about it and maybe brush off this little Class A contractor's license I keep in my wallet.
He's got it in his hand, the Class A contractor's license.
And, one of the classifications I have is a gas fitter's license, right? So I kind of know a little bit about this topic. But what I wanted to do is I kind of wanted to take it more from an approach of not, what happened and how did it happen. Look, the investigation is going to kind of hopefully get to that point. It's not going to bring anybody back to life. But what I wanted to try to focus a little bit on is okay, look, if you're going to go away, what are some of the things you should do, right? And just have like a conversation, you and I conversation about that, and maybe kind of tie it a little bit into real estate, because after all, this is a real estate show. I did some research in the last couple of days, like preparing for this show, and we'll talk about this a little bit later, but according to the Wall Street Journal, if you go ahead and service, and we'll talk about the portions of the house that you should service annually, if you do that, right, keep copies of that, you will actually increase the value of your home when it's time to go say. According to Wall Street Journal, it's 1% per year. They have a number in it. If you don't do it, you reduce your value of your home by 10%. I don't necessarily agree with that. But I do agree that you do increase the value of a home, and particularly, again, putting my real estate hat on it, if we're going to sit down at a kitchen table to list your home, particularly in today's market, right? We talk about features and condition. Well, we're talking about condition right now. If I'm able to go ahead and present to the agent on the other side, here are all the services that you have done in this house religiously once a year, it makes the negotiations a whole bunch easier. It gets you a little bit more money and move on. So we'll talk a little bit more about the specifics, but just as a takeaway point, if you're not doing that, you should be doing it. And we'll talk a little bit about who you need to call and when you need to do it here a little on it later in the show.
Kate Schartz, welcome to the broadcast. The Queen of Ivy. Lonnie Murray, welcome to the broadcast. Hey, Katie Pearl, hello. Cully Baggett's a real estate developer. Jason Noble, Scott Thorpe is in the real estate game. Viewers and listeners, if you want to ask questions about the Glenmore explosion, please put them in the feed and I will relay them live on air. Again, we're talking with somebody who's built 600 homes as a Class A contractor.
And got a gas fitter's license.
Has a gas fitter's license.
So let's talk about gas. Let's start off with gas, right? So that is a scary thing, as we just experienced, right? And we don't know what happened, right? I can tell you it didn't happen external from the home. Right, because if it would have happened between the tank and the regulator, or part of the regulator, so those that know, the regulator is the thing that mounts on the house that regulates the fuel that puts into your home. Neighbors would smell it, right? Because what do they do with natural gas and LP, liquid petroleum gas? Is they put an additive in that makes it smell like rotten eggs. So somebody would have smelled it. So somewhere internally, there was a long-term leak. Water heater, gas water heater, furnace, connection to a fireplace maybe along those lines. And that just built up. And what gas does is it always goes to the lowest level, right? Gas is heavier than air. So, from what I understand and talking to neighbors and the people at the emergency services, it filled up the basement. There was an ignition of some sort. It could have been a simple light switch. And unfortunately, it was an instant explosion. For anybody who ever had their gas grill and walked away from it before they lit it for a minute or two and lit it, that instant flame that happens, well, just think of that, of 250 or 500 gallons worth of propane. That's why you see the debris field that you do. It was an instantaneous explosion. So let's talk about propane. So that's the easiest one to shut off, right? So if you have propane, you either have an above ground tank or an in-ground tank. The larger tanks are in-ground. That's a simple thing of finding the top. They say if you want to shut off the gas for the house, lift the top up. It's a regular like faucet valve. You shut it off, and you've now shut off fuel from the tank to the house. The winter, obviously that's a little bit different, right? If you heat with it, but if you're going to go away for a couple of days, that's a great thing to do. If you don't want to put hands on it, and I get it, hire a plumber. That's a gas fitter. call your gas company if it's the propane company, or if it's the city gas, whatever where you should live, and have them come out and say, look, I'm traveling, how can I do this? But what you really should be doing is twice, particularly with gas appliances. That's, heating systems, ovens, hot water heaters. Some people have gas ports on the back of their deck for grills, right? You should have somebody come in twice a year and inspect these. And then keep, like I said earlier in the intro, keep copies of them, because on the sales side, on the real estate side, these are always great things to do. But just for safety purposes and peace of mind, that's what you should be doing. If it's city gas, is a little bit different. There's a meter out in the street, right? And my suggestion is don't open that meter and mess with it, right? You could go ahead and ask the gas company to do that. And secondly, if you don't want to do that, or you don't have time and you run out, every regulator that mounts to the house, below it is a shutoff valve. It's a little hint, right? If you've got a line going vertical and you have a shutoff valve on it, if the valve is parallel with the line, then it's on. If it's perpendicular to the line, then it's shut off. You could just shut it off there. That stops gas at least going into the house. So, I kind of wanted to kick off a little bit with the gas side of it, since of the tragedy that we've had. And I showed a house yesterday, and that's all these people were talking about. Well,
Yeah,
where's
my wife's been talking about too.
Yeah, so, safety first, Batman. When in doubt, make a phone call. Mm-hmm. You're going away for a couple of weeks, a couple of days, whatever it is. And if it's in the summer, you don't need the gas, and nobody's living there, just shut it off, either at the tank, at the regulator, or call the gas company or the propane provider and say, look, I'm leaving for a couple of weeks. I'd like to have my gas shut off so we don't have any tragedies. I only can imagine what these people must be going through.
Kevin Yancey in Waynesboro, his first comment, he'll get the comments started, and they're coming in now. Kevin Yancey in Waynesboro says, as soon as it exploded, the pressure valves on the tanks activated and shut the tank off.
100%, unless the tank totally dumped
all the gas into the basement.
To Kevin's point, it never really ever completely depleted. There's always a little percentage of the tank left in it. So it does. As soon as it came in, there's mechanisms that shut it off. But somewhere along the line, there was a leak. And, so Yona and I travel, right? When we go away for an extended period of time, we always have a house sitter. So if there was a house sitter in there, they would have smelt that gas long before 250 or 500 gallons of fuel. That's a lot of fuel. And it all sits on the bottom. It starts, like gas, right? The liquid doesn't cause the explosion. It's the fumes. And that's what happens. This gas starts generating all these fumes.
When you were in the Marine Corps, he's a Marine. Once a Marine, always a Marine. Bob Sefik, welcome to the broadcast as well. When you were in the Marine Corps, you were military police.
I was, yes, but my primary job, I was attached to the U.S. embassies as security behind the Iron Curtain.
Why do you think the homeowners for the Glenmore home on Ferndown Lane that exploded, who were out of the country traveling, why do you think they got in touch with a neighbor to go check on this house? Do you think it was because somehow there was notification that there was newly deposited gas by the gas provider? Was it just a random check-in with our home? The fire marshal has confirmed the woman that was found dead in the rubble smelled gas upon checking the house. Then she contacted a male who was walking toward the house and got caught up in the explosion. Judah's pastor was within 100 feet of the house. And the explosion was so significant that Judah's pastor, who was within 100 feet of the house, was blown off his feet and then got on his feet and pulled the male who's in the bird unit at VCU out of the basement rubble.
So let's So I'm trying to figure out the tie-in to the Marine. So I'm thinking you're probably trying to tie in situational awareness and paying attention to what's going on.
This is all your skill sets.
Yeah. So my job is protection of classified material, property, and personnel. So, and I was in the Soviet Union at that time. Look.
Like something must have tipped the homeowners off.
Yeah.
To call the neighbor to check on the house.
So let's unwrap this a little bit. So first off, if you do not have a CO2 monitor and a gas monitor in your home, go out and buy a bunch of them. You can get them out of Lowe's. I'm going to use. I'm trying to keep some of the contractor lingo out, but they're lick and stick. You pull it off, you stick it on the wall somewhere, and it'll sense CO2 and it'll sense gas. You can get different kinds based on if you got natural gas or LP gas, right? My suspicion, and this is just a wild guess, and based on some conversation, is they probably had some integrated system, like a security system that had all this bells and whistles in it, and they got a notification
that something was going off.
They got a notification on their phone is probably what happened, right?
That seems reasonable.
Yeah, this is what I've heard from emergency service folks. That's what happened, right? Then the phone call went to the next door neighbor come in. Look, I'm going to try to be uber delicate about this because somebody lost their life in a very horrific and tragic way, and somebody's fighting for their life right now. But what I've taught both my daughters, if it don't feel right, smell right, sound right, you walk away from it, right? It's all about situational awareness. So, again, this is tragic, and we want to pray for the families and pray for that. But there's a reason why they put this odor in gas.
What he's saying it's mercaptan. It's odor with mercaptan, which smells like rotten eggs.
It smells like rotten eggs.
And yes, I would imagine they got a text or an email that the fuel supplier had filled the tanks.
I could be. No, look, we don't know, right? The investigation's going on. My information is it came from the alarm went off, and it was, hey, go check the house. If it's true or not, the investigation's going to find out. But what we want to send home here, if you walk onto a piece of property or if you're around your house, right, and you smell gas, call 911, right? Don't move forward. If you smell that smell, then there's combustible gas somewhere present where you're standing. Back up, get safe distance, hit 911. The fire department will come over. They're trained to do this, and then take it from there. And most people don't think that way, right? I'm going to help out a neighbor or whatever it is. But there is a very clear reason why that chemical and that smell is there. It is hey, you've got a problem, make a phone call. And unfortunately, that didn't happen in this case. And unfortunately, the tragedy, not only to life, but to property, has happened because it's substantial damage.
I mean, 13 homes damage. These homes, viewers and listeners, to say these are $1 million homes is an understatement.
It doesn't really matter, right?
So you're probably looking at somewhere between 13 and $20 million in damage.
It's going to be more than that because you got to clean up all the debris, right?
The other questions I have: foundational damage. How uninhabitable are these homes? Are these legitimately tear downs? The neighbors' homes now. You have neighbors that are on the street that have done interviews with the media that all the windows were shattered.
Yeah.
The hinges were blown off the door.
That's usually the first thing that goes because I've been around enough explosions in my life, got blown up a couple of times. It's the compression that gets you, right?
The windows were shattered, hinges blowing off doors, second floors 2 or 3 inches moved to the left or the right, prior to the explosion.
So,
or because of the explosion.
This is going to be a long, drawn-out process. And somebody's going to ask, well, how does that impact the real estate
Well,
values?
I was going to. Literally my next question. How does that impact the values of the neighborhood?
Yeah.
How does that impact the values of the entire street?
Yeah.
How does it impact the value? Here's a basic question. A home that is in a state of remodel, that is across the street from the home that was completely destroyed and is no longer there, how does it impact the value of the home that can be fixed?
Well, so nobody knows the answer to that. So that's the first response, right? Because if somebody tells you it's going to decrease this or that, they just don't know, because how many times has this happened, right? So there's no history that you can go back and look at it. I can tell you it has impacted the market at the moment, right? It's impacted the market from a buyer's perspective, and this is why I wanted to talk about this today from the seller's perspective, right? Particularly what's going on here. Guys, make sure you get your stuff serviced, right? And we'll go through the list on what I think you should do, right? But hey, look, we've got this done. I literally did a home inspection yesterday. Yona normally handles them. The client, we split our clients up, right? So Yona said, look, I need you to be there because this particular buyer's freaked out about gas and stuff like that. I said, cool, I got it. I went there and went through it and all that stuff, and there's shut-offs and everything is fine, and everything is operating as it should on it. But yeah, so the buyers are concerned about that right now because of this incident. It's kind of logical, right? If you have an explosion of that thing and you damage, how many houses are in Glenmore?
Over 900.
Yeah.
Back of the napkin estimate's about 950.
Yeah, so you had 12 of them.
13.
And I think that number's bigger than that.
Potentially. Right now we know there are 13 homes,
Yeah.
the blow site and 12 others.
Yeah. So people that are going to be around that are going to be calling their insurance company. They're going to be sending in structural engineers and blah, 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 blah. So, it could be, as much as 10%, right? Not 10%. 10% would be 100. It'd be 1% of the total, right? Hold on. If we got 1,000, 10% of 1,000 is 100. So it's roughly 1%, 2% of the property. Here's the thing. This was not specific to a subdivision, right? This could have happened in Lake Monticello. This could have happened in any subdivision, right? That's where it could have just happened to happen here, right? Places that have particularly propane tanks, right, or any gas to it. Gas is combustible, and as we can see, it happens. So this could have happened in any subdivision. It just happened to happen here.
This comes in from a Class A contractor and builder that's watching the program that is saying, Jerry, I watch your show often. I respect that you don't utilize people's names when they ask for discretion. Please don't use my name or my company, but this is important that is heard by the viewers and listeners in your audience. The key point I made to you on yesterday's show is these homeowners should not be negotiating with insurance companies or adjusters now.
Oh, yeah.
They must get structural engineers to look, because the damage is way beyond cosmetic or what the eye can see.
Yeah.
The damage is potentially structural.
That's a great piece. That's a great piece of advice. If you can afford to hire an independent structural engineer, I'm just going to give a shout out to a guy by the name of Alex Rayfield. He's a home inspector and also a structural engineer. I'm sure his phone is ringing off the hook at the moment, but that's a great piece of advice, right? Bring in a structural engineer to take a look at it. What I'm trying to talk a little bit about is the front end of it, right? Make sure this doesn't happen. Make sure you go ahead and have your HVAC system and your gas systems serviced twice a year, right? We don't know the circumstances. Maybe that happened, maybe it didn't happen, maybe they haven't looked at it for a couple of years, and who knows, right? We don't know, but you should get these systems serviced biannually. It does two things. It does more than two things. One, particularly on the HVAC system, it kind of extends the life of the units.
It extends the life.
The second thing that it really does...
just changing the filters on these damn things, guys. It's such a basic thing, but it's so important.
And some of these filters require a little bit of knowledge to change them out, particularly if they're the HEPA filters and the whole house filters, and not like the old school where you'd slap it in a register on it. but still get a professional in there to go ahead and do it twice a year, depending on your filter systems within the house. The second thing that it does, just I've always make a plug with buyers to go ahead and do this, particularly new home buyers. When does your system usually crap out?
The worst time possible.
Yeah, if it's in the middle of a
the hottest time of summer or the coldest time of winter.
And you know what happens if you're on a biannual service with Almar Heating and Air, whoever you happen to use? I'm not making a plug; it's just one that popped into my head. You get on the top of the list on the call.
Oh yeah.
Because and it's that alone
has value.
It has a tremendous amount of value. But back to the folks that are in that community, and back to this gentleman that chimed in.
And he's got more comments.
Even if you are outside of the blast radius, because that's what we're talking about here, right?
The ATF, ladies and gentlemen, is a part of this investigation now.
Yeah. Well, it's because they
specialize in explosives.
Explosive and blast radius.
But that's how significant we're in. The ATF is investigating this right now.
Yeah. And I'm but they are the experts that can
100%.
look at a blast radius and know where we're going. But if somebody magically draws a line around it and goes, oh, by the way, this is the blast radius, and you're outside that line, still call a structural engineer. Hey, take a look at my house. It's worth a few hundred, whatever the fee is going to be, and then you could take it from there. Very similar to the earthquake. Remember when the earthquake, I think it was 2011? I had structural damage in my house, and I was a substantial distance away from Mineral, where the epicenter of it was. And, I called in a structural engineer, and then the structural engineer wrote a report, and I called my insurance company and said, here's my report, and then it's pretty hard for them to ignore it.
Here's viewers and listeners. We have real estate agents left and right watching the program. Caitlin Mancini,
I do want to talk about water.
Logan Wells Clalo, hello. Jonas Smith, hello. Lloyd Snook, hello. Folks on the car board, hello. Katie Pearl, hello. I'm going to ask a very straightforward question. Okay? I have a Class A contractor that is saying the impact on foundations and the structures themselves, not just on the street, but adjacent streets,
do you know why he's saying
should
this?
not be underestimated here. He said, I don't need the business, Jerry, and I'm not doing this to gain business because I asked you not to use my name.
Yeah.
I'm doing this from a good place.
Yeah.
They should talk to a structural engineer before talking to any insurance adjuster or gaining any kind of settlement.
Do you know why he's saying that?
Well, I have a follow-up to that. Tell me why he's saying that.
So everybody, this is a great time to pull out your homeowner's insurance policy, right? And
you're saying, what if this is covered in the policy?
No. Foundations are typically not covered in homeowners insurance policies.
Well, go ahead.
So
this is great content.
So if there's a structural damage to that, and the reason I know that is one, as I read it, and I'm kind of in the business a little bit.
You are.
Just a little bit. But when I had the earthquake thing on me and I had the structural, all my structural damage was to my slab, my basement slab, and my wall. My insurance company wouldn't cover it.
This was the Louisa earthquake?
Yeah. So
that damaged the school and then radiated throughout.
Yeah. So the suggestion of having a structural engineer taking a look at it is an awesome one.
And he's saying that this is not just tied to the street, that this could be many streets over.
100%, yeah. Well, that's the point I'm trying to make is, so somebody's going to draw a magic line around this house and say, here's your blast radius. And it's going to be between the ATF, the insurance companies are going to fight it, lawyers are going to go you-know-what all over.
I mean, this screams class action here.
All over this stuff. But if they draw this out and you have any question, it's well worth the money. Hey, let me have a structural engineer come in and take a look at it. So whoever this is, he's spot on.
I got to ask you a very pointed question. You ready?
I got a pen. I'm ready to write.
Is this a known material defect?
Yes.
Any home on the road near the explosion site?
Yeah.
Known material defect, should any of these homes be listed on the market?
That's a tough question to answer, right? So
Can you put in perspective first, known material defects?
Yeah, so what a known material defect is, so I am listing your house, and you tell me, hey, Keith, you know this explosion that happened, and I got a bunch of cracks in my foundation. Then I know that's a material defect. I don't have to be an expert. You know, my real estate license isn't going to allow me to be an expert, but a reasonable thinking person would say, okay, that's a known material defect. And then you go back to your structural thing. Back to the structural engineer, and if you're trying to sell a house in Glenmore, let's just assume this doesn't impact the market. I think it will, but let's assume it doesn't. And I have a house that's even outside the radius, and you call me to list it, the first thing we're going to do is call Alex Rayfield and get a clean bill of health. Right? And I'm going to shove that in the listing documents so we now know I've got a clean bill of health, right? Because what's the first thing a buyer's going to say? Is there any damage to this house from the explosion? Or any damage from this house from the earthquake at that particular point in time?
I'll take it a step further. This
I want to get the water, though.
explosion made national news.
Yeah, it sure did, yeah.
So it's
made international news. My sister-in-law in Austria said it.
International news. Yeah. So it's common knowledge because of its reporting.
Yeah.
Does that go beyond known material defect in any way?
No, I don't think so. That's
you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I got you.
Okay, so explain what I'm. Yeah. Because I didn't do a good job of presenting that.
No, you did a great job of it. So what you're saying is because of some national or regional event, it's directly related to an individual property. I don't see that happening.
Okay.
I see it. So as far as no material defects, it's a disclosure, right? If I know something, I have to disclose it, right? If I don't know it, obviously, I can't disclose it, right? So how do I know things, right? I know things by you telling me or walking through a piece of property in a reasonable thinking person or somebody that is not an expert. It's obvious, right? You know, the wall is leaning this way, right? There's black substance growing all over the inside of the house, right? A reasonable thinking person would go, we've got a material defect here, right? You don't have to have one of these things that I hold in my hand.
He's got his Class A contractor's license in his hand.
Yeah, to do that. You know, I'm in a little bit of a different animal because
that's why I like working with you.
Because of that. But at the end of the day, it's about what you know and what you don't know at that end of it. Flipping it the other side, if you're trying to sell in Glenmore, I don't care if you're a mile away from the explosion site and you're trying to sell it, you better call a structural engineer and just get a clean bill of health. You know, real estate, we're kind of tying it back to real estate, right? Real estate, you know, I think in the unicorn years, I don't think this would have mattered. I think people would have said, I'll buy the house and fix it, right? Now it's different, right? It's location, price, features, condition. We're talking about condition right now.
Well, the location is good.
Well, you and I can talk the Glenmore market outside of this differently, but
I lived there 4 years.
Glenmore has a history of
up and downs.
A very, very steep up and down.
Yeah, swingy history.
Much like golf. I was trying to tie it. I was trying to tie it to golf.
That was a dad's joke right there.
That was a dad joke.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay.
It's true.
I respect the effort, though.
I tried.
I
tried. Trying to make it funny. It didn't work out so good. But yeah. So yeah, there you go. I was trying to figure out a way to improve it. I don't think.
Made me smile. That's good. I will leave it alone now.
Yeah, leave it alone.
Yeah.
Shut up. Yeah.
Go on, Dad. Go on.
Smith doesn't do really good on learning when to shut up.
It's good. You're doing a great job. It's going to do a good job.
But I just lost my train of thought. What we were talking about?
We were talking about known material defects and the swing of the Glenmore market.
Got it. Swing of the summer.
It can be very hot and cold. It was very hot during COVID.
No, within a year.
Yeah. 100%.
It goes up and down.
Yeah.
Right. And Glenmore's always been a very...
I mean, friend of the program, Jeff Gaffney, said it comes down to the golf course and when the grass starts turning green.
Brother, our chemistry is on fire. I was literally going to give Jeff a shout out that if you're trying to list a house and the grass is brown, you're going to be down. I'm trying to recover
Judah
here.
rolled his eyes on that one.
Dun, dun, dun.
This comment: if the
tried.
sound waves on that explosion traveled all the way to Hollymead, imagine how far the sonic waves went.
100%. So back to my point of somebody's going to draw a magic line, and if I'm in Glenmore and I own a piece of property, I'm calling Alex Rayfield. I don't care if I'm thinking about selling, not thinking about selling. I want somebody in my house and take a look at it. If you can't get Alex, find somebody with one of these things, a Class A general contractor, say, I'll pay you to get an eyeball on my house, right? Is my seals working on my windows, right? You may be far enough away, and there's a lot of things can happen to a window other than shattering or fracturing, right? The seals can be blown, right? You sometimes don't really know that until the temperatures start changing, right? And what I mean by seals, windows that are double pane or triple pane, but around here we typically have double pane windows. There's a seal between the two pieces of the glass, and usually you can tell when they're blown is when they start fogging up, like you would do like a mirror in a bathroom. And the weather differences need to happen, hot and cold kind of thing. But it could be something as simple as that, right?
So what does it do to the Glenmore market? There's another specific question. I was hesitant to ask the known material defect question, but the reason I'm asking the known material defect question is because it's a real estate show and you've become the water cooler of real estate conversation.
Yeah, somebody called me.
I literally heard that from Jeff a few days ago. He said that.
Yeah.
Is because of the show, he's become the guy when it comes to real estate locally.
Yeah.
Exact words he said.
A little bit of pressure.
Literally exact words he said. Judah was there and heard it too.
Somebody called me a guru.
Okay, so
I don't know if I have to dress up like, I don't know. We got to get
comes
custom.
with responsibility.
Yeah, it does.
With the known material defect question.
Yeah.
Another comes with responsibility question is, what's it do to the Glenmore market?
Well, it can't be good, right? Again, back to my comment earlier, we'll break out the crystal ball. Nobody really knows, right? But I can tell you, and I'm not trying to scare people in Glenmore, right? People are trying to sell their houses and buy whatever it is, right? I'm just going to point out facts here, right? We're not the unicorn years, right?
Unicorn years, he's alluding to the time in COVID, whereas Jonas Smith says even turkeys could fly in the wind. One of my favorite Yona-isms ever is that one. She's watching the program. She knows I love Yona.
Yeah.
Even turkeys could fly in the wind.
She made me throw turkeys up in a storm, I'll tell you.
I love that.
I can tell you they went. It was amazing.
Now that is not the case, ladies and gentlemen.
Now that's not the case, 100%. So even though we're in this weird buyer-seller market.
Transitionary period. We'll just use transitionary.
Well,
it's becoming a more balanced market.
Balanced market, and in certain locations, it's heavy buyers locations. Certain locations, it's heavy on the seller side. If you don't hit all I have 6, right? Location, price, features, right? Condition, timing, and who's on the other side matters. If any one of them are off, and now we got a condition one that is really off, it's going to impact that market, right? To what extent? And for how long, and also, if this happened, let's say, God forbid, in Lake Monticello, God forbid, right? It'd be easier to run the stats on it. But Glenmore, if you historically take a look at Glenmore, it shoots super high, then it hits the bottom and it shoots super high. And that does that in like 3-month cycles, right? And if you really take a hard look at the sales chart on that, you'll see these huge W's going at, where in Lake Monticello, you might have a little bit of that, but it's constantly climbing. That might be an easier impact, particularly, right? We did this for the show the other day, right? The number one highest volume of sales in the region is Lake Monticello.
Well, it also, that's
because you got 4,500.
That's a skewed home. It's the second largest neighborhood in the Commonwealth.
And it's got 4,500 homes to sell.
It's got the most homes.
But that makes crystal ball in that answer a little easier.
That's fair.
It's harder to do in Glenmore because regardless of this particular event, horrible event, timing Glenmore market takes a lot of skill. That's
Well, and on top of that, and again, I lived in the Glenmore market for almost 4 years. I know this market intimately. The homes are so different in Glenmore because they're all custom builds. So you have a lot of different floor plans, a lot of different builders, a lot of different styles.
Great.
Also, you have there's choice lots in Glenmore. Some Glenmore lots are golf course lots, green
That's your
lots.
micro location.
Some are phase one, which is West Derby. When you pull in, West Derby's got the choice lots. Some are positioned closer to the club, positioned closer to the pool. Some are on the main drag Piper Way, which could diminish some of the value potentially because of the traffic and the eyeballs that go by it. So it's just not, where like Lake Monticello has this as well, but that
it's
is
more of it.
Litmus test. The baseline is more predictable.
Well, that's the reason. That's the reason why.
That's what you're saying.
That's what I'm trying to say, right? And you know, you have the same thing. You got waterfront lots, golf course lots, the acres, which is the one I developed inside Lake Monticello, right? There's some different things, but for the most part, it's a kind of consistent property type. And in Glenmore, you even got different property types. You've got, you know, cottages.
You got cottages. You got the preserve in the back, which is the bigger lots.
Sure.
You have a ton of different property types.
But
comments coming in quickly.
Yeah, so I just think, I mean, a logical thinking person, we just got to call it like this ain't good, right? It's not going to be helpful. So if you've got something that you're trying to sell in Glenmore during this time, so what we're going to, you know, get to this particular list, my suggestion is you better have this list. You better have something from an Alex Rayfield, which every time I say his name, I'm going to have to charge him $5.
Alex Rayfield, you owe Keith Smith probably $500 at this point.
right now, right?
You're buying Keith and Yona Tavla dinner tonight.
There you go.
With martinis.
Yeah, I've been good. I haven't had a...
It sounds like I've been drinking yours for you.
Well, yeah, I've been trying to dial that back a little bit. I'm in training.
Okay.
So get an structural engineer's report, get all these different reports. It's a good idea in today's market, period, to have a pre-home inspection, right?
Wow.
Right. In Glenmore, you better do it. Get a pre-home inspection. You include all this package in it, and when Keith rolls in with a buyer, you know, you're going to give everything, and you're going to take every guess away from the buyer on it. Again, under normal circumstances, not the Glenmore market, if you do the things like once a year, right? Your HVAC, your water heater, your plumbing, your gas appliances, your electric panel, your roofing and gutters, the chimney, which is actually one that I really want to take a dive into. Things like smoke detectors, CO2, gas monitors. These are things that have to be inspected, particularly by a third party. I would encourage that. Some of them are twice a year. You know, the HVAC and the heating is twice a year. But you know, get these things inspected, put together in it, get your structural engineer, get your home inspection done, and it is a nice, beautiful package, and you've just taken the guess out of it. And not only that, you've taken the questions out. Right, here you go. And then this whole question about known defect goes out the window because everything is there.
Mike Plecker, one of the Shenandoah Valley's finest backstops. Played in the farm system with the New York Mets.
Uh-oh.
Known regionally. With a quick release from behind the plate, a gunner who catches runners at second base and third base.
Look at you.
Fantastic hands and knows how to work a pitching staff, Michael Plecker. He says, I can only imagine how much infighting is going to take place there among the various insurance companies.
Oh, good Lord, yeah.
I also wonder who the fall guy is in this scenario.
I think he's going to be multiple.
The fall entity, whatever, who's going to catch the hatchet in the back here. I also wonder who is galvanizing the 13 homeowners right now in any kind of class action scenario.
Sure.
Because I would bet that is happening right now. It's a creepy crawly business. I hate to say.
So I'll tell you who's going to do that. The class action.
Yeah.
It's going to be the insurance companies.
Of course.
The homeowners might not have anything to say about it.
The insurance. I mean, Keith, you want to know something crazy? Since that's happened and we've been talking about this, I've probably had half a dozen to a dozen companies in my inbox or DMs saying talk on the show that we're here to help, offer free inspections,
Yeah,
all that.
Yeah, sure.
This version of ambulance chasing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Which is sad. But if that's happening right now, there's a contractor now who I'm not going to say, who is literally walking down the road trying to make contact with people and saying, I'll offer you free estimates of what you're looking at.
So I hear you. And that's a nice new watch. I think I've seen that.
Offer free. I've had it before. Offer free estimates.
That was Squirrel.
Yeah.
So look, I'm going to take it from the higher altruistic level. Maybe he's trying to do the right thing,
Okay.
right? So maybe these folks are trying to do the right thing. We're trying to do the right thing here, right? You know,
We're just talking about something.
Yeah, I know that, but I'm making recommendations.
Yeah.
But you know, let's use the term trusted advisor because we like using this. If you've got one in your life and you live in that area, you should call that trusted advisor. If it's a real estate agent or general contractor or whoever, I would give that person a call to go ahead and take a look at it. But you know what's and I'll let you chime in on a question, but I do want to kind of talk about water and chimneys when you get it.
Greg Bartlesky watching the program right now, one of State Farm's finest.
There you go. Well, he would know.
Greg Bartlesky would, if any of the insurance agents would be willing to talk on the show, we'd love to host. William says this, on the insurance thing nearly 8 years ago, our back porch collapsed. It was a miracle my wife was not killed. When we were dealing with the insurance company, they sent an engineer out to examine our property. Because our back porch did not meet current construction requirements, and there were no specific requirements when it was constructed, the insurance company denied the claim.
Yeah. So.
And then he shared a link to his back porch being collapsed, and you can find this link in the comment section of my personal Facebook page.
Yeah.
Search Jerry Miller, look at the comment section, and look for a comment from Bill.
Again, back to this contractor comment, this Class A comment, that.
And the one that's texting with me, I know well, and he's not soliciting business because he's booked into 2026.
He's generally trying to.
He's generally saying like, dude, don't do anything without a structural engineer looking at it.
Well, what he's also telling you is hire your own guy.
That's literally what he said.
Yeah, and have them assess it first before somebody comes in. I immediately make that phone call. Immediately have somebody come in and do it. If you want to DM me after the show, I've got a list of people. There's not a lot of structural engineers in this town, by the way. You might have to bring them in from out of the area. It's literally, you can count them on one hand. So, there's that.
And they're extremely busy.
They're always busy on that end of it. So, you can reach out or do some Googling or ChatGPT or AI and try to find structural engineers that are going to do it. But the point that this gentleman's trying to make is, trust but verify. And, I'll wrap it around a little bit into the real estate. It's like when you walk into a new construction home sales center, that salesperson there isn't working for you. It's working for the company. Same thing here. When they send them over there, that engineer, that inspector, it's not working for you. It's working for the insurance company. So, it's best to get your report and then compare it to the other one and go, whoa, time out. We've got a problem here. And then we can move on.
Okay. How about this question? If you're one of the 13 homes that are known to be damaged, uninhabitable, or gone, exploded, what's your quickest and best hedge to keep you in front of the other homes that are in this collective damage?
I wouldn't know that. I mean, my initial off-the-cuff response is be the squeaky wheel. Just stay on it. I mean, it's hard, but stay on it. And you're going to do the old Potomac two-step. People are going to be passing the hot potato around. But, this now just become a full-time job, right? Staying on top. But, just think about it. You have now 13 families, and I think it's more than that.
I think so, too.
I think it's way more than that.
I think we're going to figure out how many it is soon.
I think conservatively double that number, right? Are going to have some form of damage that may level to the point that it's not safe to stay in the home. So let's just use the 13.
Can you put in perspective what the word uninhabitable means here with these homes?
Yeah. So
I found that word unique. Here's why I find that word unique. Because it strike me that you could still live in these homes, but they're saying uninhabitable.
yeah.
Is that a safety?
Yeah.
Like if you have a foundation issue, can't you still live in the home? I understand from a resale standpoint the foundation issue.
So words mean different things to different people and different definitions.
Uninhabitable strikes me as you can't even go in it.
Yeah. There's, and I'm waffling here a little bit.
A little bit.
Right.
A little bit.
A little bit, because it means different things to different entities, means different things to different people, right? And these different things, and it's also a comfort level, right? I do not want to live in the house because I feel it's unsafe. Well, guess what? To that person, that's uninhabitable, right? Is it the actual definition of uninhabitable? Do you have to check these 6 boxes to equal uninhabitable? It doesn't work that way, right? If you don't have water, you don't have sewer, right?
No water, no sewer is uninhabitable.
Right.
Mold, I understand
mold.
uninhabitable.
I think where the word...
Gas leak, uninhabitable. Crack in the foundation doesn't strike me as uninhabitable.
Except under this particular
What, the house can crumble?
Except under this particular circumstances, back to the sound wave, back to the actual impact zone. So do you know what most people die from explosions?
No.
Internal injuries, right? What happens internally is usually what kills you, right? If you're that close and, it's projectiles, those kind of things. But if you're at a certain distance away, it's what happens internally that gets you. So my point is, we don't know what's going on internally, right? So you could see a visual crack, but you don't know what the hell's going on up in the attic, behind the walls, things you can't see. And that might just check that box, right? Go, this is uninhabitable, right? We don't know what's going on until you have somebody come in and say, okay, you're structurally sound. And I'll tell you what, until you start tearing stuff apart, it's almost impossible to determine what that's going to happen. This is a much bigger, longer term thing than a simple, this is uninhabitable and move on. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
But the bottom line is get somebody in, take a look at it. But, sometimes, there could be stuff behind the wall that anybody who ever renovated something can figure that out pretty quickly.
Yeah, right. That's the truth.
You open up the door.
Here's an interesting question. Does the blast site impact the real estate market outside of Glenmore in Milton, the Keswick area, the Clifton area?
Yeah, I'm going to say no.
Okay. Shadwell, they added.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a question asked. Like, as time goes on, there'll be less questions asked, right?
Yeah.
But there'll be questions to ask. If you're in a situation where you've got to sell right away and you are thinking this, then it's good to give a structural guy a call or get a pre-home inspection or get something done so that, at least you have this safety thing on it. I think the biggest impact is going to be to Glenmore, obviously. We still got an inventory problem, right? We still have people coming down from the Northeast. I'm meeting 3 people this weekend coming out of Nova, Northeast, and Florida, right? All phone calls that happened this week since the explosion, all looking for homes in and around, Charlottesville. So that hasn't slowed down. Mm-hmm. But I think it does impact Glenmore. Water.
Please.
Make sure you shut off your water main if you're leaving the house. If you don't know how to do that, there's usually somewhere where the water, if you're in a basement, there's a water line that comes in. Right after that, there's a shut-off valve. You can shut it off, right? And that just stops water through the house. If you don't have something like that, call your, if you've got a well, right, you can go ahead and shut it off at the wellhead, right, or somewhere along those lines. But if you're on city water, give the city water a call. Say, look, I'm leaving. You can actually open up the box and there's a valve in there you can shut off. I wouldn't touch the box because it doesn't belong to you. It belongs to the service authority, pick up the phone, call the service authority. I'm worried about flooding or whatever. Flooding, this is a tragic, instant thing that happened, but water is what causes most damage to homes, right? Hot water heaters exploding, right? If you got Quest pipe, that sometimes pops when you're traveling and you're out. So if you're gone for a few more days and you're not in the house, just cut off the water to the house. It's not going to hurt anything. The winter might be a little bit of a different story, right? On it, you know. But
because the pipes will freeze?
The pipes will freeze and all that kind of great. So that's a different animal, and there's different ways around that. If you're going for a long time, you can drain all the water out of the house. You know, if you want to leave a valve
open. Bucket.
Pardon?
A little bucket with the valve open?
Yeah, valve open, that kind of thing. Or in a sink and just let some water roll through it a little bit. But, it's just simple PM stuff, right? Make sure your
project management.
Yeah, thank you. Make sure that
hose bibs.
It's actually preventive maintenance.
Oh, okay.
But sorry about that.
You're gonna go hose bibs?
Yeah, well, no. The hoses that connect it to your washer and dryer, right? They get brittle. Excuse me, your washer. They get the dryer too, because we just bought a new one that has a steam thing in it. So they get brittle. Those typically pop, and they just will run until you show up, and then you've got some real damage. So just get those things looked at on a regular and consistent basis.
This from local entrepreneur and businessman Philip Reese. He says, I had a small claim case against my landlord several years ago due to extreme water damage that meant the apartment was temporarily unlivable for 2 weeks. The judge defined the term uninhabitable as a permanent condition like being destroyed in a fire.
Yeah, so there you go, right? But I think under different, I'm sure the insurance policies have a different definition of it, right? There's different definitions for different circumstances. But yeah, I do want to talk fireplaces for a second, because this is something that has caught a couple of people in buys and sells over the years with me. Gas fireplaces, we just talked about, make sure everything is shut off and PM. But wood-burning fireplaces, they're meant to be used. A lot of people don't use them for years or decades.
Get your chimneys clean?
No, what you really need to do is run a fire through it periodically, a few times a year. Definitely get your chimney swept and taken a look at. But what happens with that is if you don't use that, so wood-burning, wood fireplaces, right, unless it's metal, they're masonry, have terracotta flues. Well, what happens if you don't use them? They dry out and crack. And all of a sudden you throw a fire in there, and all of a sudden these flames and this creosote and so forth and so on work its way into your structure, and the next thing you know you have a fire. So if you got a wood-burning fireplace, use it periodically, get it cleaned, keep a copy of the chimney sweep thing, right? I've swept it, it looks good and all this stuff, and they'll inspect the flue. But we just recently had a situation, we were on the buy side of it, did a home inspection. We brought in a chimney sweep to take a look at it. The fireplace has not been used in 20 years. And what needed to happen was it had to be relined. It was about a $15,000 fix.
Yikes.
And we negotiated it in the home inspection on it, because it was the chimney sweep literally said, this is a fire hazard, you can't use it. Because you have all these cracks, the mortar between it. And what fire does and goes in, it actually creates moisture in the flue, which then moisture keeps the terracotta and the mortar joints good, and you don't end up with that fire. But that's a little tidbit out there.
Fantastic show.
Yeah. I thought we were going to do Stump the Smith.
This is your, this is your specialty.
Yeah. Well,
this is right up your. This is why you work with Keith and Yona, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, stop it.
No,
but
I'll say it. You're too humble to say it. He's a Class A contractor as a real estate broker.
I was uncomfortable with kicking off like this because of the sensitivity of the disaster. Because I consider this a disaster.
It's 100% a disaster.
Right.
Especially if we find out it's more than 13 homes.
Yeah, literally no way.
I mean, you're talking like tens of millions of damage.
Yeah.
When this could be all said and done, we may be, you know, who knows how expensive.
Well, again, not necessarily put it to dollars, but impacting people's lives. And
Yeah.
I was going to say this earlier, and I didn't get it out. Just the 13 families,
Yeah,
where are they living,
right.
Right.
Red Cross is involved.
right? So
They literally have the,
they've got kids going to school. How's that going to, I mean, just the impact on people's lives.
the feds are involved in this, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
The ATF is alcohol, tobacco, firearms, and
Yeah.
explosives.
Yeah.
They're doing one of the leaders in this investigation.
Yeah, and that's because of the extent of the explosion,
Right.
And again, as I said earlier, they got the skill set. They got the people that can look at this and go, okay. And this is all trying to figure out how this happened.
Right.
Right. And then once you figure out how that's going to happen, then it's going to be the who, right? And then that's when the fun's going to start.
Yeah.
On it. But
I mean, we're looking at a multi-year process here.
my bet, for what it's worth, is that there was some sort of appliance in the basement that had a leak. Some sort of leak, right? Some sort of valve leak, connection leak, hot water heater, who knows if it was a gas dryer down there, right? You just don't know what level of gas appliances. And it was more than likely in the basement, right? Because it stays low. So it could have been the gas furnace, but there was some sort of leak, and that leak had to go on for a long time for that to happen. It takes the reason I know this.
I mean, talking to the entire tank emptying.
Somebody can do the math on this. Doing a renovation for my parents on it, because I'm super smart. I filled up my effing tank, 500 gallons of propane, the week before I started my thing. So I had to pump out 500 gallons of fuel because I had to relocate my fuel tank. So me being...
Do they give you credit for that?
Yeah.
So
they charge you $1,200 to pump it out, but you get a credit for the fuel. And of course...
So they don't charge you again for the fuel once they pump it out, right?
Yes and no. So the way this works is they charge you $1,200 a month. Oh, by the way, the only tank that there's only a couple of rigs that actually can do that.
Yeah.
They come out of Richmond, right? Because usually they're designed to put in, not take out.
Yeah.
Right, on that end of it. So what happened was there was a $1,200 fee to physically do it. Then they gave us a credit to our account for the fuel. So it was 500 gallons out at X $4 a gallon, whatever it was on that end of it. Then we end up with a credit on our account. We've got it reinstalled. I got to call them to fill it up. So whatever it's going to be at that point, they're going to eat up the credit, and anything above the credit we need to pay. But what I wanted to say is Genius, which would be me, said, I know a little bit about this. Let me just try to bleed this out myself, right? And then I realized that it would have taken 2 weeks to bleed that tank out. You have to bleed it out. There's a way to do it safely and all this kind of great stuff. So my point is that leak had to have been going on for either there was multiple ports open, huge lines. I'm talking 3/4 inch lines, 1 inch lines, which is probably not the case. That had to have been leaking for a very, 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 very long time, like weeks, in order to fill up that basement with that much fuel, right? So anyway, and if somebody was living, they would have smelled the gas.
When you do a good job on a show, you get the realtors and the bankers watching, but when you talk about Class A contracting and the Class A contractors are watching, when you see Class A contractors all over the feed watching, that you do a good job when they stay for the entire hour watching.
Well, and they don't say Smith's full of you-know-what.
No, they're not.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're getting the nod and agreement.
Yeah. Well, 11:22.
Fantastic show.
Thank you for letting me do this.
You did a great job.
I wanted to kind of do a little PSA for people out there. This was, not patting anybody on the back, but if you take care of your systems, document them, keep them somewhere in a folder, right? You will generate more money for your home. Your home will sell faster. You'll make your life a lot easier when it comes to the end. You might end up saving somebody's life.
Keith Smith, guys. Yes Realty Partners. Keith Smith, Yes Realty Partners, did a hell of a job today. Yes Realty Partners, who you can count on in that buying and selling process. Yes Realty Partners. The show archived at realtalkwithkeithsmith.com. Click the Partners tab on the website. He has personally vetted these partners while working.
IIC is a great.
They're watching the show right now.
You know, if you got a thing, get them to come in and take a look.
Interstate Service Company.
Have them come look at my house.
Home's best friend.
Yeah, look, they'll be more than happy to do it, I'm sure.
Yeah, he's personally vetted the partners on Real Talk with Keith Smith as a guy who's been working in real estate since 1987, ladies and gentlemen. The I Love CVille
Not
show.
1887.
The I Love CVille show at 12:30. So long, everybody. Excellent.
That's an old joke. I got to stop telling that.
So good.
Yeah, thank you. I enjoyed it. Yeah, I just want to.